You are watching video on SEE Grade 10 Subject Science. The chapters for Grade 10 will be discussed in this video series. So the content of this video will give you complete explanation of the chapter Energy, chapter 3 Physics portion. The chapter is going to be explained in parts, part 1, 2, 3, 4. The chapter broadly consists of 4 parts. These 4 parts of the chapter are classification of sources of energy, major sources of energy in context of Nepal in our country, and alternative sources of energy and energy crisis. So these are 4 main parts that we are going to study in this chapter. So we are familiar with different forms of energy in our day-to-day life. We know heat energy, we know light energy, electrical energy, chemical energy, nuclear energy, kinetic energy, and potential energy. Kinetic energy and potential energy are two different forms of energy under mechanical energy. So energy is needed to do different kinds of work. Yes, so every kind of work is done with the expense of energy. So how to define energy? Energy is the ability or capacity to do work. Yes, energy is the ability or capacity to do work. SI unit of energy is joule. So work energy is measured in terms of joule. Okay, joule is the SI unit of energy, and there is another unit of energy, that is calorie. Calorie is CGS unit of energy. Calorie is CGS unit of energy. CALORIE, calorie. Joule is the bigger unit of energy. It is SI unit of energy. Now in our day-to-day life, we understand energy as fuel. Okay, anything which burns and gives heat is considered as fuel, and that is source of energy for us. Okay, so heat is produced by burning coal, petroleum, and biomass. Biomass means wood, firewood, and coal. Okay, besides this, we are familiar with solar energy also. Okay, electrical energy and nuclear energy. So we have heard of nuclear energy. Few developed countries of the world are using nuclear energy. Nuclear power plant produces tremendous amount of energy: electrical energy, heat energy, light energy, etc. Mainly electrical energy. Now, in this modern civilization, there is excessive use of energy because we need energy to do almost every kind of work in our day-to-day life. Okay, so we are getting modernized, and technological advancement is there in every field. Okay, so overpopulation, there is increasing number of people everywhere. The population is increasing at an alarming rate, which is called overpopulation. Urbanization, people are settling in towns and cities. Okay, people are leaving their villages behind. Okay, agricultural activities. So with the increasing population, there is increasing demand of food. In order to fulfill this demand, agricultural activities are increasing. Okay, agricultural activities, and in agricultural activities, equipments and tools are used. Okay, nowadays industries, there are industries all around us. These industries operate to produce different kinds of substances we need in our day-to-day life. Okay, so excessive use of energy in this modern civilization will lead to shortage of energy within short time. Okay, the energy sources will run out. There will be no more energy to do different kinds of work, and that period is called energy crisis. Okay, because the energy demand is increasing every year. Yes, every time. So energy sources will get exhausted in near future, and this period is called energy crisis. So in order to avoid energy crisis, in order to prevent energy crisis from occurring in near future, preservation of energy sources by economical and scientific use should be done. Okay, it is needed. We need to preserve present sources of energy. Okay, we need to conserve them so that energy crisis can be pushed further back. We need to remember these points in this chapter. Now we have come to the first part of the chapter, classification of sources of energy. There are various sources of energy, and these sources of energy are classified on the basis of form of use, in which form they are used. Okay, this is the first classification. Okay, and second classification is this one. So first classification on the basis of form of use. So the first one is primary sources of energy. Primary sources of energy, the sources of energy which are used in their natural form. Okay, these are used in their original form. For example, wood, firewood, coal, charcoal, crude oil. Okay, crude oil, raw petroleum oil, natural gas, dung, cow dung, buffalo dung, solar energy. So these are primary sources of energy. These sources of energy are used in their original form, natural form. These need not to be processed or refined, okay, before using. Secondary sources of energy, second type. Secondary sources of energy are derived from primary sources of energy after refining or processing. Okay, these cannot be used in their original form as they occur in nature. For example, petrol, kerosene, diesel. Petrol, kerosene, diesel are obtained after refining crude oil, right? So biogas, which is gobar gas is obtained from gobar gas plant. So in gobar gas, dung of animals, okay, and agricultural waste, organic waste are made to decay, fermentation in the presence of bacteria, and gases produced. Okay, so these are the different forms of energy on the basis of form of use. And second classification of sources of energy on the basis of replacing period. How long time do these sources of energy take to replace themselves? Okay, how long time does it take to remake these sources of energy? Renewable sources of energy and non-renewable sources of energy. Renewable sources of energy are the sources of energy which can be replaced immediately after they get exhausted, means finished. Okay, renewable sources of energy can be replaced easily within a short period of time. For example, solar energy, wind energy, hydroelectricity, etc. So these forms of energy are perpetual sources of energy. Perpetual means everlasting, which do not which do not end, which do not finish. Okay, so perpetual sources of energy are considered as renewable sources of energy because they are replaced immediately after they get exhausted at a particular place or time. Okay, non-renewable sources of energy cannot be replaced immediately. Okay, it takes long period of time for these forms of energy to be formed. Okay, it takes millions of years to be formed. So these are non-renewable sources of energy. For example, fossil fuels, kerosene, petrol, diesel. Okay, these take millions of years to be formed inside the earth. Now we'll do more on renewable and non-renewable sources of energy. Renewable sources of energy examples are solar energy, hydroelectricity, biomass, wind energy, geothermal energy, and tidal energy. Yes, geothermal energy is the energy obtained from deep inside the earth. Heat energy obtained from inside the earth. Tidal energy, energy obtained from tides occurring on seas and the oceans. So we'll see more on these topics later. Non-renewable. Non-renewable sources of energy examples are fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are mineral oils like kerosene, petrol, diesel, coal, okay, and charcoal, yes, and natural gas. And nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is an example of non-renewable source of energy. Yes, so the non-renewable sources of energy examples, we are going to see more examples of non-renewable sources of energy under fossil fuels. These are coal and petroleum. Okay, coal, there are three different types of coal: lignite, bituminous, anthracite. Lignite is the worst type of coal and anthracite is the best type of coal, and the middle one is bituminous. Okay, lignite, bituminous, anthracite. And uses of coal: energy source for steam engines to run trains. Coal is used in countries like India and China, and there are domestic uses of coal for heating, okay, and cooking food, etc. Uses of petroleum: fuel for vehicles and fuel for industry. So these are the uses of petroleum. Now we are going to see second type of nuclear non-renewable sources of energy, that is nuclear energy. Technically, nuclear energy is non-renewable source of energy because radioactive elements, once they are used to produce energy, they get finished. Okay, so nuclear energy can be obtained by nuclear fusion and nuclear fission reaction, fusion and fission reactions. Okay, so these two nuclear reactions produce nuclear energy. So nuclear energy can be considered as alternative source of energy. Why? Although it is non-renewable source of energy, it is considered as alternative source of energy. Yes, it is because there is huge deposit of radioactive elements which can be used to produce tremendous amount of energy. Okay, only few countries are using this nuclear energy at this present time. So the nuclear energy can be considered as alternative source of energy. Okay, the energy produced in nuclear reaction can be calculated by using this formula E equal to mc square, which is energy mass equation, and we are going to see this in detail in next part. So with this we finish classification of energy, first part of the chapter.